It is day 20, 1:53 a.m. in the Big Brother UK All-Stars house, and Victor was just the third house guest to be evicted from the house. And we have a busy day, so we're going to head into the next round of nominations straight away. The house guests haven't even left the couches yet. And first up, we're actually going to have our new big boss of the week, Makosi, nominate first. Now, thanks to her already high score and Victor donating his big bucks to her, she is now big boss, and she chooses to nominate both Courtney and Brian. Alright, next up, based on Big Buck's inquiries, is our Ministry of Love members. However, they are going to have to nominate face-to-face. So our first Ministry of Love member of the week is going to be Cameron. And he decides to nominate Hellen, who, instead of him going over to her and nominating her, he makes her come all the way over to him just so he can yell at her, which is kind of a total power move. And not only does he do that to Hellen, but he also goes ahead and nominates Makosi as well and makes her come over to him just so he can nominate her to her face. But that is 1 point for Makosi, 1 point for Hellen, 1 point for Cameron, and 1 point for Brian. Our next Ministry of Love member is Emma, and she is going to have to nominate face-to-face as well, and she actually heads over to them. She doesn't make them come to her, and her first nomination is for Nikki, which seems to actually go over pretty well. She doesn't take too much offense to it. And Emma's second nomination is for Charley. Next up, we have New York having to nominate face-to-face. And her first nomination is going to be for Hellen.
Wogra, Vimpa, Gil.
Next, New York nominates Brian, making that 2 votes for Brian, 2 votes for Hellen, 1 vote for Courtney, 1 vote for Makosi, 1 vote for Charley, and 1 vote for Nikki.
Borig. Zubul, Funa, Moochie Peachy.
The last Ministry of Love member to nominate is Charley, and she decides to nominate
Plume, Exy, you're no.
I love how hard she has to think about it. She really stares at all the ladies before deciding to nominate Makosi. And then she doesn't even head towards the back of the room to nominate Pete. Instead, she sits down and makes him come over here to nominate him. So now Makosi is tied up with Hellen and Brian with 2 points, and Pete is on the board now with 1. But now that the Ministry of Love members are done, Rylan is able to come into the diary room and nominate in private, and he chooses to nominate Charley and Nikki. A ton of house guests are now tied up with 2 points, and Gemma is the next house guest to get called to the diary room to nominate. Gemma has chosen to nominate New York,
Divawis, Varpasa Masplima, Docky.
and Craig for eviction this week. Next up to the diary room is Isabelle. And once there, she chooses to nominate Charley. And she nominates Hellen. And just as a reminder, every nomination counts 5 big bucks in total. And of course, you can follow along with all the big bucks inquiries down below. In the living room, things have gotten a bit out of hand with house guests now standing up and chatting and walking around. Meanwhile, Big Brother still goes ahead and calls Craig into the diary room, where he chooses to nominate Courtney Act and also Gemma. Big Brother goes ahead and gets all of the house guests to sit back down, settle down, okay? I know it's really late. They've been doing this and sitting on the couches for hours. I mean, pre-eviction, now post-eviction. It's been quite a while. So they are getting a bit restless, so we're going to speed this along, and Nadia is going to come into the diary room to nominate.
Grobel!
Nadia nominates both Courtney and Emma. Next up to the diary room is Davina. But instead of going the normal way and also just trying to get around Nadia, she just walks straight through the wall, which is pretty impressive. Davina's 2 nominations are for Courtney Act and Craig. Now, this nomination is actually pretty interesting. Nikki was called to the diary room to nominate, and instead she kept wanting to talk to Emma. However, once she actually gets to the diary room, she goes ahead and nominates Emma, but also nominating Hellen. I just thought that was kind of sneaky and backstabby almost. But those are her 2 nominations, and once she returns to the living room, it is then Brian's turn to nominate. But he's talking to Gemma. Let's see if he goes ahead and nominates her too. Maybe that's a sign of who they're going to nominate. It's a close call, but Brian decides to nominate New York, who was right beside Gemma, and Makosi, who was also pretty close to him, so I don't know. It doesn't disprove the fact at all, I guess. Next up to nominate is Hellen. Hellen's nominations are for Tiffany New York Pollard and Shane/Courtney Act. Next up to the diary room is Courtney Act. Conveniently, they are side by side, but Courtney nominates Hellen and Makosi. So that does wrap up this week's nominations. Everyone that was able to afford the $25 immunity was able to buy that. And the 4 of those people were Pete, Craig, Makosi, and Hellen. So they went ahead and purchased that. On my bad, I let Pete buy this, but then that left him with not enough to nominate. So that was totally my bad. It would be the opposite, so he will be being punished for that. But because the 4 of them are immune, and Hellen and Makosi actually had the most nominations out of everyone, it has instead left Courtney Act, New York, and Charley up for eviction this week. And the 3 of them are going to face the public vote. But instead of having all week for you guys to decide, the eviction will take place this Wednesday, as this week is a surprise double eviction week. So either Charley, Courtney, or New York will be going home this week, and it is up to you to save your favorite. Do you want to save Charley from eviction, Courtney Act, or New York? Again, one of them will be leaving this Wednesday, all due to Makosi and Hellen buying immunity, as the 2 of them would have definitely faced the block this week had they not done that. And again, Pete will be getting punished. But due to all of this, we will be now arranging our ministries of the week. So Makosi actually still stays big boss, while the Ministry of Love changes a little bit from who nominated, because both Charley and New York are nominated, so they are now Ministry of Plenty, and replacing them on the Ministry of Love is Gemma and Rylan. All of them will be receiving 5 big bucks. Meanwhile, on the Ministry of Truth, we have Isabelle, Craig, Nadia, and Davina. They will be receiving 3 big bucks, and all of them actually have to go ahead and report to room 101 right now. Because they've all been nominating and doing the eviction process all night long, almost all of them are starving and have to use the bathroom. So now is kind of the worst time to be going to room 101. All of them are having to do the penguin waddle back there, and it's kind of a race to the bathroom as there's only one toilet for all of them. And it looks as though Davina has won that race, and it doesn't look like it's a pretty sight. Meanwhile, everyone else is struggling to hold it in, and it looks like they're gonna have to hold it a little bit longer, because as soon as Davina's done with it, the toilet breaks. So room 101 looks like a complete disaster. Meanwhile, the Ministry of Peace is not going to be easy with the snowfall outside. We have Pete as a member, Hellen, Nikki, and Brian. The 4 of them will be trapped outside or in the bathroom until Friday, because the ministries are going to last all week long. And it's not going to be easy. I'm sure they're going to be spending a lot of time inside the bathroom. And then, of course, Charley, Courtney, and New York are now our new Ministry of Plenty members. They will still receive that 1 big buck, but they will now have to do all of the cooking and cleaning around the house. Thankfully for them, they won't be doing laundry, as I'm not replacing the washer and dryer, and it's a bit too cold for them to be doing laundry outside. So it looks as though everyone's going to have to be a bit smelly for the rest of the time, but at least that's one more chore that the nominees don't have to do. If you have any questions about this week's nominations, the big bucks, inquiries, how all that kind of stuff goes down, or any more questions about that or my mistakes, go ahead and ask down below. I'm totally down for any questions. I have it all written down, but it gets confusing and I get kind of stupid when I'm recording the gameplay footage. But yeah, just let me know. Outside, we see that a lot of the Ministry of Peace members are actually still outside. We have Nikki trying to get warm by the fire, while Brian and Pete were trying to get warm by the heater, before Brian got a little creeped out by Pete just talking to himself. We have a lot of the girls merging into the bathroom, as almost everyone had to use the toilets, and it's, again, probably going to be a bit of a race, as I'm sure they're all going to slowly start breaking one by one, and it looks like almost the whole house has to use the bathroom. Weirdly, Emma, Pete, and Brian go back towards that garden corner. I'm guessing to go use the toilet, as they all look like they have to. However, they get back there and they see that there's no door or nowhere to use the bathroom. There's no bush. I don't know what they were going for. The emergency exit isn't even over there, so I don't know what was going on there. Meanwhile, Cameron is trying to hold in his pee in the kitchen, while Charley actually gets straight to work and starts cooking meals for the rest of the house, as she is a Ministry of Plenty member, and that is now her job to do so. And New York comes and joins her, and it looks like that salad that Brian cooked right before, well, I guess you don't cook a salad, but made right before eviction yesterday, is still there and has now gone bad. And I'll see how long it takes for one of them to clean it. Meanwhile, everyone is still suffering in room 101, as the toilet is still broken. Davina is feeling good. She's taking a nap. Her bladder is empty. Everyone else in that room is suffering, and it reaches boiling point. Maybe that's the wrong term to use. Ugh. As Craig is the first one to pee himself. He's unable to hold it any longer. And I'm sure that Isabelle and Nadia will follow suit here pretty soon as well. And that room, it's already uncomfortable for them, but it's just going to look more and more uncomfortable, as now they're all filthy and there's pee on the ground. And again, like I said, I didn't think it would take very long. And after a bit of complaining about hunger and everything else, Isabelle is the next to join in peeing herself in front of everyone. However, thankfully, Craig actually goes ahead and heads straight into the bathroom and starts trying to repair that toilet, because they don't know how long they're going to be in this room. It's 6:46 a.m. and all of the house guests are still up from last night's eviction. It's been such a long, drawn-out night for everyone, especially after nominations. But it doesn't feel good to go from seeing one of you go home or even facing the block like Makosi did, and then she has to see her new romance Victor go home and then nominate as well. So it hasn't been an easy night for her, and she seems to be banging on the front door, wanting out. She's been crying all night, and she just does not seem happy. She eventually does sulk back downstairs, but I don't think she is enjoying her experience right now at all. And I'm sure right now she's wanting to be outside to be with Victor, but I mean, she's not nominated for eviction. She's not going to self-evict, and she is just going to have to ride this one out. She goes and takes what you'll soon see I think is her favorite spot in the living room, and takes a nap on the couch. Meanwhile, even though there is a bathroom available to him, unlike the Room 101 members, Rylan pees himself in the living room, and now he's filthy walking around. But instead of cleaning himself, he just goes and grabs a cup of water from the kitchen. Smart, I guess. Meanwhile, outside, Nikki takes a nap on a stone bench, but at least it's by a heater, and so does Hellen. Quite a few hours have passed now, and it is now 12:14 p.m., and everyone in room 101 wants out desperately. They're mopping up the pee, and Isabelle is just staring out of the door, begging to be released anytime soon. Meanwhile, Craig has finished repairing the toilet, but he now has to clean it as well. It looks as though Brian is taking a nap in the bathroom, even though he's not a Ministry of Peace member, so he doesn't need to. Meanwhile, Cameron is outside grilling up some hot dogs, and he doesn't seem too happy about it either. He looks exhausted from staying up all night, and I'm sure the cold weather isn't adding too much to his mood either. Meanwhile, we have Courtney taking a little nap in the bedroom instead of cooking or doing anything like the Ministry of Plenty members are supposed to be. We see that New York as though she's actually vacuuming up the living room, while Makosi is still at her favorite spot on the couch and just chatting with New York. The two of them have been bonding a lot recently, even though the conversations do tend to turn into arguments, as they both are pretty feisty. They still seem to be trying to be good friends and not let that get in the way. Meanwhile, outside, Gemma seems to be complaining as there's a ton of food sitting out there. However, almost all of it is spoiled apart from those new hot dogs Cameron cooked. And of course, he cooks those and then just leaves them there and completely walks away and doesn't eat any of them. Meanwhile, Brian has woke up from his nap in the bathroom and has started a conversation with Charley. They also have a pretty complicated relationship. They were on the same season together. However, they've been nominating each other, yet they try to get along as well. They're always talking and always arguing. It's a bit weird. Pete plays in the trash in the bathroom while Hellen and Emma try to do some bonding in there as well. And Brian ends up mopping up the toilet instead of repairing the one next to it. While Cameron has moved on from making hot dogs to making drinks in the kitchen. And in room 101, Craig is on the computer while Isabelle sits and watches from behind. And Nadia and Davina have a little chat in the bathroom. Outside, we see that Rylan and Emma are trying to heat up by a heater, and Emma is trying to heat up a little bit more by doing stretches and push-ups right there as well. Meanwhile, Charley is still kind of hosting a conversation corner over here. She hasn't moved, yet she keeps changing partners. And over here, Nikki has woke up from her nap and is now joined by Ryland as they seem to be having a little pleasant conversation. In the bedroom, we have Makosi, Courtney and Emma Willis. They seem to be going okay until Makosi ends up kind of stretching and leaving out of the room, while Courtney tries to wake up a little bit more by doing some sit-ups. Everyone seems to be gaining a little bit of energy, or at least trying to get some and make it through the rest of the day. In the living room, Makosi goes back to her favorite spot on the couch and is joined once again with New York as the two of them continue their bonding. And they seem to be going back to one another throughout the rest of the day, and I really hope this leads to a really great friendship and not a rivalry. Meanwhile, Craig has to put an end to his games as the computer has broke, and after fixing the toilet, I don't think he feels in the mood to fixing the computer. And that little chat that was going on in the bathroom between Nadia and Davina has soon turned into an argument going on between the two of them. Davina doesn't seem to be in too much of a bad mood. It seems to be mainly Nadia who's upset, and Davina seems to be egging it on just a little bit as she seems to be having a little bit of fun with the conversation and enjoys what's going on. Meanwhile, Nadia is just completely miserable. Craig goes in there to try to wash his hands and soon gets out of there as he sees that they're arguing, and he ends up going outside doing some push-ups trying to gain energy like a lot of the house guests are in the house. Meanwhile, Isabelle is actually doing a Ministry of Truth job and is studying and actually doing what they're supposed to do in there. And again, we have that same door issue going on in the bedroom. We have our three gays, Courtney Act, Rylan, and Cameron, all trying to head back to that emergency exit in the bedroom. Even Emma takes some trash and try to bring it out through there as well. Seeing that she's not able to do that, her and Cameron glitch all around before Emma just puts the trash on the ground and complains about it. At 5:18 p.m., after a full day of work, Big Brother goes ahead and releases the Ministry of Truth members from room 101, allowing them to return to the house. And even though it is a struggle for some of them, they eventually make their way back there. Davina seems to head straight to Makosi and New York in the living room as they're still chatting away at their spot they've been at almost all day. Meanwhile, Craig goes outside and starts a fire, but it ends up not being warm enough for him and heads inside. And the same thing actually happens to Nadia and Isabelle. They both hop into the hot tub, but soon hop right back out as they're just not warm enough to battle against the cold temperatures. And Isabelle seems to still have to use the bathroom. Inside the bathroom, however, it is getting kind of busy as the night slowly begins to set in. We have right now a bit of a boys' gang happening with Emma kind of in the mix as well. Meanwhile, in the bedroom, everyone is still trying to go use that emergency exit, so I'm kind of fed up with it. I'm over it. So I go ahead and do a little bit of a makeover with the bedroom. I took the door out, and then while taking the door out, I kind of noticed, I don't need the bunk beds anymore now that we've already had 5 people leave the house. So the bunk beds are now removed, and so is that door. However, it doesn't fully stop people from going back there and trying to use it. Don't know what's up with that. It's really annoying. However, outside we see that there's a bit of a girls' gang going on with Davina, Nikki, New York, and Charley out by the hot tub and by the heaters, and the snow is still coming down super heavily. Winter is in full effect right now. And the bathroom is incredibly busy, with most of the Ministry of Peace members definitely going to be cramming their way into the bathroom all night to avoid the snow. And while everyone is trying to get ready and get to bed, and with the Room 101 members finally getting a chance to use the bathroom, this bathroom is going to be packed probably for the rest of the night. At 9:01 p.m., New York is the first house guest to actually head straight to bed. changing and getting right into bed, and I feel like I would be the first house guest to go to bed. Today has been so exhausting for them. Almost all of them have kind of napped here and there, but they've been up all night long. They've dealt with so much going on. So a lot of that commotion going on in the bathroom slowly starts to disperse as more people head one by one. Gosh. Sorry, I've been stuttering so much in this episode. I don't know what's wrong with me. We see that a lot of the Ministry of Peace members have already went to bed in the bathroom, and Big Brother goes ahead and turns off the lights in the bedroom, and all of our house guests head into there. So this week is going to be super exciting. Like I said, there will be an eviction this Wednesday. So you guys only have today and tomorrow to vote for your favorite. Who do you want to save? Do you want to save Charley from eviction? Or how about Tiffany New York Pollard? If one of those were to go home, I'm sure the house guests would miss Charley, as even right now they get right out of bed to go ahead and laugh and point at her while she sleeps. She's not even sleeping naked, so I don't know what that's about still. But the local celebrity of the house, Charley, could be sent home if you don't save her, or New York, and if either of them go home, that will be the first girl sent home. Or do you want to continue the tradition of a boy going home every single week and Courtney Act being the next to join them? Again, vote down below. Follow me on Twitter where there's a poll running on there, and you get all the latest updates. Or just like, share, subscribe, whatever. I'll see you tomorrow.